Good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo and Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. So let's get open for business here. And let's wake up those football gods this morning. Here we are. It is Sunday morning without another Sunday morning without football. You know, this sucks. But the good news is every Sunday that we have without football gets us one Sunday closer to having football. We've made it through the NFL winter. We've made it through free agency. We would have made it through the combine, but of course there was no combine. But we got the pro days. And sitting here only 18 days, 9 hours, 57 minutes, and 50 seconds away, we will begin 3 days of the draft. And I cannot wait till that gets going. I am still working on getting some things together. If I have time today, I'm going to do a Zoom in call for channel members live stream. What I'll do is I'll post in the community tab a link to channel members so we can test out the system and start getting some of the bugs and stuff. And it'll be a live stream so that way we can see how it looks in the new set and make sure it works, because I want to make sure it works to perfection for the draft coming up. And man, wow. Whew. The draft. The draft is the opportunity to make your team better. Let's be clear here. The draft will make and break our season. We still have a lot of holes that need to be plugged. The Cowboys are trying to figure out what's what and who's who. You know, there's a lot of debate on Kyle Pitts. Lord knows Joseph Collin is like on the Kyle Pitts train. He's like, trade up, do whatever you take, get that guy. I don't care if it takes the whole draft. The question is, when we look at our offense, now let's just take our offense for the first 5 games where Dak Prescott played, which still wasn't quite there. Zeke was coming off of having COVID. We didn't have Lyle Collins. Tyron Smith only played in 2 games. Our offensive line was in flux. Zeke wasn't doing really well. But in that time, those 5 games, I want to go through and look at what our offense was doing and compare it to some of the greatest offenses that in football history. Now, during those 5 games that the Cowboys had, the offense averaged 383.4 yards passing per game. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable that we averaged 383 yards per game passing. And I'm not saying that you want to pass that much. You want to be more balanced. But to put that in perspective, to have 3 games of over 400 yards passing is unbelievable. Tony Romo in 2014, we had 1 game over 300 yards passing. We were balanced. We had DeMarco Murray, rush for 1,800 yards, and it kept teams guessing. We pretty much came one-dimensional because basically we averaged 107 yards on the ground. Still a staggering 491 yards a game. 491 yards a game and 32.6 points a game. That's a lot. And especially when you looked at some of the teams that we faced that were playoff teams. I mean, you had the Rams, you had the Seahawks. We played the Falcons. We played the Giants. Who am I missing in there? Okay, but regardless, they were decent teams that we played and were able to score like that. So as we go back, let's go back at the top 10 offenses in the history of the NFL and see where that compares. Because what we have to wonder is, from that 491 yards that we ended up amassing per game, that 32.6 points, how much better can this offense be with Kyle Pitts? And should we just say, damn the defense, we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to try and outscore everybody? And if our defense gives up 30 or 40 points, it's okay because we're going to try and score 50 on you. And let's start with Jim Kelly and the K-Gun. Total yards per game, 329. What? Points per game, 26.8. Now, the amazing thing is they average 199 yards passing and 130 yards rushing. And that's the 10th rated offense in the history of football. Wow. The 83 Washington football team, they averaged 383.7 yards passing, 219 running the football, 164. But they averaged 33.8 points a game. That's unbelievable. That's more than our 32.6. I'll give you that. But they also had a defense that took away the football. So let's go on. 2011 New Orleans Saints. This is amazing. Drew Brees and that crew, 467 yards per game, 334 yards passing, 132 yards rushing, 34.2 points a game. That's great. Yeah. Okay. So basically, we're talking about 1.5 more than what the Cowboys offense was putting up. 1.5 more than what the Cowboys are putting up. Atlanta Falcons, 33.8, averaged 415 yards per game. 295 yards passing, 120 yards running the football. 1 point more a game. Minnesota Vikings, with Randy Moss at his peak, 391 yards. Cowboys averaged 100 yards more than that last year. 270 passing, 120 rushing. Points, 34.8. 2.2 points more. Okay. So we got room we can improve there. But right now, that's been the highest point differential. Green Bay Packers 2011, 35 points. Okay. All right, so now we're at 3.4 yards, points per game. But still, only 405 yards. Okay. Kansas City with Pat Mahomes. Total yards per game, 425. Cowboys had 491. Passing yards, 309. Dak was averaging 383. Rushing yards, they had 115. We were averaging 107. Points per game, this is where they got us, 35.3. 2.7 points more per game. All right. 2007 New England Patriots, 411 yards per game. Passing yards, 295. Rushing, 115. 36.8. That's some points. That's a whole lot of points. So we're up to 4 points more per game. The greatest show on turf, the LA Rams, 400 yards per game, 32.9, just 0.3 of a point more than the Cowboys. And number one, Peyton Manning's Denver Broncos, 2013, 457 yards, 37.9 yards a game. Okay. So as we go through here, I don't think, did anybody have more than 491 yards? I don't think so. So 37.9, they had 5.3 points more per game. That's 5.3 points a game. Passing-wise, Dak Prescott was actually passing more yards, like 304. Let's see. Let's go back. I want to make sure I'm not lying now. 32, 272, 295, 309, 307, 270, 295, 334. All right. Here's what we can go through and surmise from these numbers. We threw for a whole lot of freaking passing yards. If that was a full season, Dak Prescott would have passed for more yards than any other quarterback in the history of the NFL. The area where we fell down was the running game was a little bit short, but we still averaged 107. We still were not bad. We weren't far off there. If we could get another 15 yards, that would be great, a game. Where we actually fell a little bit short is actually in the scoring department. So that means you kicked more field goals or you had more turnovers that didn't lead to points because you had more yards. The Dallas Cowboys had more yards per game in those first 5 games than any team that went through a whole season. So what that says is the Cowboys, when you think about how the offensive line was in flux, it's amazing that they scored that many points. The second thing you can surmise is with those yards, you should be leading in points, which means that you're having a problem converting third downs or getting into the end zone. So we may be talking about red zone. So red zone wise, if you were to get a Kyle Pitts, tall guy, big body, another weapon, where when you get in the red zone, the field is condensed, which means it's a tighter area, which is why it's harder to score in there because the defenders can now use the back of the end zone. They can use the sidelines. There's less space to maneuver and all that. That's where a big body comes in. And this is where I had hoped with Rico Gathers, because Rico, I think they misused him. I think Rico Gathers, what you should have done was instead of saying, we need you to be a blocking tight end, they should have taken the skill set that he had and said, you are going to be our red zone threat. You can leap out of the building at your size and your weight. You are used to having to go for rebounds because you're a basketball player. We're going to send you to the corner of the end zone, and it's going to be a jump ball. Instead, they screwed him over, and it ended up being that it just didn't work. Jason Witten in his younger years. Jason Witten was that red zone threat. So from the standpoint of saying Kyle Pitts, if he's there, yeah, that would help the offense. The other thing you look at, too, is I think it was 2011 when Tyron Smith was drafted. And the funny thing is, Tyron Smith was not the highest rated left tackle right there. When the Cowboys were up in that draft, the best tackle prospect that was still on the board was Nate Solder. Wasn't bad, but he was no Tyron Smith. The Cowboys had the opportunity to trade back out of that position, but they held firm and they took Tyron Smith because that was the guy that they deemed that they really wanted. And, of course, that has worked out for the Cowboys. I don't know if Kyle Pitts is the guy that they're really laser focused on and saying the guy that we really believe in. Sometimes the guy who is the best prospect and the better known name doesn't necessarily become the best player. As you look at some of the great players like Travis Kelce, he wasn't the best tight end prospect in the draft. Yet, you look at him and he's the best tight end in football. It's a crapshoot. And from the standpoint of the Cowboys, would Kyle Pitts make the offense better? Yes, it would. But if we go through the history of football, the best offense in the history only scored 5 points more a game than what the Dallas Cowboys did. There's not a whole lot of room to improve on the offense. I'm not saying that if we could get 5 more points on the offense that it's not going to help us win a few more games. But as long as our defense is giving up 29.6, you've got a whole lot more room for improvement on the defensive standpoint where it will help you win more games than that 5 points. And that's my theory. And you can either like it, hate it, say it doesn't mean anything, because in the end it doesn't mean anything. What I say has no bearing on what the Dallas Cowboys are going to do. This is just fan talk. And that's about it. But we'll find out. 18 days from now, it'll all be over with. I'm Mark Holmes, and I got some work to do. And don't forget, tomorrow night, we do our live streams. we will be giving away another one of our Joe Barty trophies to one of you great fans. We got a whole bunch of them that are going to be going out tomorrow. We have actually a Seafoam green one that somebody ordered, and that one's going out. David Wiley, your mini one will be going out tomorrow. We got some racks. I just got a lot of work to do. I got a lot of work to do. And we have the mini ones that will be added hopefully tomorrow onto the website. So as always, friends, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Because without you guys, it does not work. I'll see you soon. Our folks here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.
You did one hell of a job, and the only thing else I got to say is